Bob Mosher here, CEO, Chief Learning Evangelist for APPLYSynergies. Friends, I am so honored to spend this hour with you. I cannot wait. Well, as you know me enough, as I was just introduced, this is a topic I can't talk enough about. I think I think we are at a crossroads in our industry. I think we live at probably one of the most exciting times to be in learning and development, because although 70-20-10 and things like it have been around for years, some would argue as far back as the 90s or 80s, depending on how you follow the discipline or not, it was a tough one. There's so many factors in our industry that made this concept difficult to do. Well, you guys, here's the exciting thing: we are well past the tipping point. 70% of how we learn is done on our own, informally. And by the way, the operative word there is on our own. That we experiment, we try, we succeed and fail. 20% of the time when that doesn't go well, we find others. Right? That's the 20. We seek out social, colleagues, peers. That's often a misunderstanding of the 70 and the 20. Some people say, well, the 70 is when I learn on my own and I might use a mentor, I might use a coach. Nope, friends, that's the 20. The 20 is a social element, and then of course the 10 is the belief that we get these rare moments like today where we get to learn something, right? I do not know, or did not know, sorry, how do you design for that? I was trained in the 10, friends. I don't know about you, but my ISD background, if you know that acronym, is in the 10. I made classes, e-learning, virtual instruction, webinars like you're taking today. This was my life, right? But so when it came to the 70 and the 20, I was like, oh my gosh, really? I mean, but the good news, friends, is that today, the world we live in today, and with the technologies we have, the methodologies that are emerging, we can truly design for 70-20-10. These four things win. And just it doesn't. I know in this group it seems that 4 has been fairly dominant. So you kind of moved 4 ahead of 6. But historically, 1, 2, and then tied for third are these red things. But let's have a candid conversation with ourselves on this thing, right? What is our end goal? Is it learn and remember, or is it apply? Right? Guys, in the end, if those who we serve cannot apply, if they cannot perform, all we do is moot. How's that? And I hope no one takes offense to that, because I'm not knocking anything that we do. But my point is, if in the end those who we serve cannot ultimately apply and perform, it does not matter what they learned and remembered. It really doesn't. Our gauge is a performance measure, not a knowledge member, right? So my challenge to you folks is, if you look at this slide, what do you build? When you design your learning and you design your solutions, do you do a lot of these first and foremost, if not entirely? This is what you build for, or do you build a lot of these? Right? In the end, people know us, see our profession, L&D, as the training department, not the performance department, not the application department. We are known as learning and development, the training group, and we are seen as doing this, right? So, rule number 1: if you want to get into the 70-20-10 business, you've got to get out of the training business, because this is an unfair measure of what we do. This is not enough, friends. It's part of the journey, but it is not enough, because in the end, this is how we're measured, right? We're not measured by mastery. We are measured by on-the-job competency, and check out that red death spiral of instruction there, right? Guys, this is what happens. And see the question mark. We are measured by competency. We're measured by time to not a 1 through 5 on your evaluations, not whether the room was comfortable, not if the instructor was entertaining, not if when I left your classroom I knew 10 more things that I knew before I got there. That is not our measure. Our measure is application. You want to get into transfer and sustain, you want to get into 70-20-10, look at the numbers, you guys. This is where 70-20-10 lines up to a learner's journey. I love this slide, because 70-20-10 sound like great buckets, but we have to start changing them into a design framework. We have to start aligning them with where we can have impact when 70-20-10 occurs. right? Because I can design for a time. I can design for an occurrence. I can't design for a bucket of something, right? So guys, here's the alignment, 70-20-10. And I don't know, and I'll be honest, guys, in my first 20 years of my profession, I made 10 stuff. And I hoped that the transfer and sustain happened. I hoped. I did not play there. I was not intentional there. I didn't have tools there. Wonderful ones like M-Level, to be honest. It's a phenomenal, I think, 70-20 kind of tool as far as what it can impact. But you guys, these tools were not around in my toolkit 10 years ago. Performance support, we're going to go a lot deeper in this, gets you 70 and 20 impact in its ability to enhance and enable training. And look what happens to the slide, guys. Look at this. When performance support is applied in complement to training, notice what I said, in complement to training, not replacing training, but in complement to training, some powerful things happen. See this? Right? I build transfer and sustain stuff first, and then I supplement with training. Hear that? I used to build training first, and if I had time, I made job aids. See the difference? I used to build training first, 5 days of blah, 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 e-learning, whatever. And if I had time, I sent home a good book, a good job aid. You feel, right? But guys, that's very different. Now I design and build, because of the wonderful tools at our disposal and the methodologies, for transfer and sustain first. And then I backfill with whatever training is appropriate. Now, how do we do that? We have to get into design, friends. So first off, you have to understand the 5 moments of need. And the first 2 we know well, right? When people learn for the first time and when people learn more, you've got this one covered, friends. I guarantee you've got this one covered. Because it's called formal learning. You meet moments 1 and 2 with formal instruction. Here's the problem. In 70-20-10, guess what? 1 and 2 is the 10. Moments 1 and 2 are the 10. They're served by the 10. The learner lives in 3 through 5, trying to apply, remember, trying to get out of trouble, or trying to keep up with change. Look to the right. Performance support and the tools that enable it meet moments 3 through 5. Right? Look at the top of this pyramid. When you're teaching, we were all taught, in this lesson you will learn, and then 4 or 5 bullets, right? 6 bullets. Probably no more than that or you're overwhelming them. Then you go down to concepts. Why are you doing this? Then deeper details, then steps. This makes sense? This is the pyramid of instruction, of training. You test at the end and repeat. We've been doing this for hundreds of years. Here's the problem. When you get to moments 3 through 5, when someone is in the workflow, when they're not in instruction, though, that pyramid is very hard. It doesn't work anymore. If I'm trying to solve a problem, if I'm trying to keep up with change, if I'm trying to apply, I do not want to read in this lesson you will learn, right? This is the pyramid of performance support. In performance support, friends, we invert the pyramid. So the person's in the workflow, they have context, they're staring at the problem, they're trying to keep up, they're trying to apply. They don't need in this lesson you will learn. In this lesson you will learn was an anticipatory set that we gave to learners so they understood why you were about to do what you were about to do. If I'm in the workflow, friends, I don't need that because I am in the workflow. I know what I'm facing the problem. I can't serve a customer. I can't make a sale. I can't make Excel work. I can't do a performance appraisal. I get it. I get it. What I don't know is how to do it. Performance support, here's the definition. And I'm not going to read it to you. You can see, but it's pretty long and lengthy. But where I'm going with you guys is performance support is not a job aid. That's the tool. It's like carpentry is not a hammer. Right? Carpentry is not a hammer. Carpentry is a discipline. A hammer is a tool. Right? So this is the discipline of performance support. It's a great definition. I didn't write it. It's one I use when I'm talking to my deliverables and talking to my clients and talking to those who I'm working with. Right? So that's the discipline. Here is the tool. Here's the hammer. When I design for performance support, I make what are called EPSSs, or embedded performance support systems. They used to be called electronic performance support systems, but they don't have to be E-based, candidly. So I just want you to walk away comfortable with 3 really important concepts of what's called an RWA, or rapid workflow analysis, critical skills analysis, and learning. These are the pivot, friends, that make designing 70-20-10 happen. What you need to get comfortable with, friends, is something called rapid workflow analysis. You need to not design towards content, you need to design to context, right? So in context, you want to basically design for 3 things. You want to start by identifying the job tasks. From there, you want to group them into workflow processes. And from there, you want to align them to what is called supporting knowledge. You want to be sure when you're done with this, you guys, that you come up with a workflow business process of all the things people need to do and then the things they need to know to do them. But you want to group them in chunks that are business process oriented and in what's called a workflow. That's how you get away from the outlines of the ADDIE days of designing to train. You want to design to performance, and performance is doing, and that's where rapid workflow analysis will help you. And what we learned in 70-20-10 is we want to move as much into the workflow as we can, right? As much into the 70 with an EPSS, with performance support. But we have to have a way to decide what goes where. So the rubric on your screen, if you look at the boxes, see the one on the far left? If you take a look at what's in those boxes. And then if you kind of read across to what it says in 7, right? Hopefully you see a huge difference between 1 and 7. And here's the moral of the story, folks. Here's the blend. If it's a 1 through 4 task or a 1 through 4 supporting knowledge, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it in my performance support alone. I'm not going to teach it. Think about that. I'm going to show you the results in a minute when you do this. I'm not, because remember, folks, the goal is not to teach everything. The goal is to have people be able to apply everything. Now, if it's a 5 through 7, then I'm going to teach it. If the task or the supporting knowledge is a 5 through 7, I'm going to give it class time. This is, like I said earlier, guys, I designed first for performance support for 70, but I still have classroom stuff. I still do instruction. But what I do now is, guys, I pivot on criticality, not on sequence or those kinds of things. What tools, what techniques, what methodology are you going to follow to build for the 70 and 20, not just for the 10? And for years, for 20 years of my life, you guys, I only built for the 10, and I hoped that it had an impact on the 70-20. Now, friends, what I'm so excited about with the tools that are available, with things like M-Level, I can now intentionally orchestrate for the 70 and 20 first, and then fall back on the others.